Hello everyone and welcome to the New York Empoleons Week 3 Team Builder of the PBAL. We are here this week taking on the Lakeland Magikarp coached by Hamato, or Hamato. You say Hamato, I say Hamato. Anyway, this was a bit of a unique situation insofar as Hamato was taking over for a coach who dropped out of the league, and then the transactions were sort of supposed to be ready for this week, but the doc didn't update, the website didn't update in time, so we're running against the old team instead of the new team, which is kind of weird and definitely like, whatever, it happens. So that's the way it's going to be. So I'm running against a team that he didn't draft and he didn't even get to make exchanges for. I said it'd be fine if he wanted to use the team with the exchanges. He said it was fine. He's just going to focus on that from week 4 onward. So week 3, he's going to use the old team. It is what it is. His team that he is going to be using this week is Aselgor, Boltund, Celebi, Darmanitan, Braviary, Dracozolt, Clefable, Lapras, Dunsparce, Mudbray, and Ferrothorn. It didn't occur to me until I was reading that of his 11 Mons, 9 of them have names starting between A and F in the alphabet. That's weird. In fact, 8 of them are between A and D, and that just includes Ferrothorn if you add the F. Anyway, odd thing I just noticed while I was reading my document just now. It is a G-Max Lapras. I don't know if I said that. Also, just a heads up there. Obviously, the display on the screen shows you that. I don't think I actually said it out loud. So, Mew got some new toys this gen. Mew, we're going to talk about real quick before we go into too much depth about his team. His removal is Braviary. If he doesn't bring Braviary, he has no removal at all. And if he does bring Braviary, he still has to bring Defog on it, which it can have the move slot for. U-Turn, Brave Bird, and Close Combat is enough coverage for my roster well enough. So he may not run the normal type coverage, just use those 3 and then Defog in the last slot. That's sort of fine with me. I still want this to be a lead Mew. I still want to set up a bunch of layers of spikes, maybe a layer of toxic spikes if I can. Soft Boil just helps me be like able to recover on things like the Darmanitan. Like, if he leads Darmanitan, goes for the U-turn, I spike, I soft-boiled on whatever comes in, then I can survive the hit as he continues to try to chip me down, and I continue to spike, and eventually I can get my layers of spikes up. Spikes plus toxic spikes is basically a game ender if he doesn't have any sort of removal, and I'm going to force that Braviary to show me the defog. Knockoff is just utility. Stop something like the Darmanitan from being scarfed maybe for the later game, can really help. Stop something like the Boltund from being banded. The Lapras can be knocked off. The Mudbray, get rid of the Eviolite, stuff like that. So, knockoff's just utility. If this thing's going to go down anyway, it's not a suicide lead, but I have no reason to preserve it for the late game. There's like, it's not a winner. It's not a finisher in any way. The only reason to preserve it would be to reset up hazards, which I don't know if in 20 minutes I will get that many chances to do. So, it's definitely a lead. Definitely going to be starting off the match with some spikes and toxic spikes on his side of the field and see what I can do to keep those there. Now, his team is really, really weak to Mamoswine, which is amazing. I couldn't run Scarf, though, because it's not so spammable to Mamoswine's single stab option. In Earthquake, I need the Icicle Crash for things like the Dracozolt. Well, I guess Earthquake would work for that, but for things like the Braviary, the Celebi, the Aselgor, the Mudbray, they all don't prefer an Icicle Crash. And then Superpower is useful for mostly the Ferrothorn and the Lapras. So I decided what I was going to do is actually run a Choppleberry set this week, because all of his fighting attacks are non-stab, so he's got like choice close combat from Braviary or Darmanitan going for superpower or something, and those are non-stab, or Aselgor going for a Focus Blast. I can take any one of those hits and kill whatever attacks me in return. And if I fail to kill barely, then Ice Shard does the rest. So I'm running a decent amount of speed, but an adamant nature because I didn't really need to be like speed tying the Braviary. Again, if he's running max speed Braviary, and he has defog, that thing is already like hindering itself. So I'm fine with that. Icicle Crash just does work against his roster, and then Earthquake can do work later on in the game as well. Darm doesn't kill with a Flare Blitz, Darm doesn't kill with a Superpower, and I just annihilate it with an Earthquake. So this thing really helped me against his roster, though it does not love seeing a G-Max Lapras that is not yet G-Maxed. So that's where my Lapras comes in. My non-G-Maxable Lapras is I can do the beating of a G-Max Lapras set here that we are running. So Substitute, I have 20 speed in this thing to just outspeed an uninvested Lapras. Substitute can do that little bit of work. Toxic can help stall out turns of the Veil that comes up, and then Life Dew keeps me healthy, and I can sub Life Dew Toxic, repeat until he has to switch out into something else. Freeze Dry hits his entire roster decently hard. It doesn't actually do very much to Lapras, but that's not my answer to Lapras in the first place, and everything else is like neutral to it or worse. So Darm, this is set up fodder for Darm, but if Darm comes in on a Lapras, he's really bold, and he has to either know my entire set, or he's just like really bold. That's like the two things. Next up is my Serena. Serena is going to be the heavy-duty boots. This actually is supposed to be basically a direct counter to Ferrothorn. If he tries to spike stack alongside me, I want to be able to come in and rapid spin. So I've got the boots on just so that I don't take a ton of damage, and if he goes for a power whip or something, I can take it no matter what. U-turn is just good momentum. Low kick is helpful for that Ferrothorn to help remove it in the after I go for the rapid spin. And Seed Bomb is just decent coverage. Honestly, I wanted to run things like Taunt and stuff, but I decided it was just better just to have the grass type coverage here. For things like the Lapras, if that situation does arise that I need to deal with it with Serena, I at least have that option. So Serena, really only to deal with the Ferrothorn or Hazard stacking on his side from the Aselgor, things like that, but won't actually be like super relevant for late game. Late game, we have Sticky Webs. Those are not early game Sticky Webs. It's not like a lead Vikavolt in any way. This is a mid to late game Sticky Web if the situation arises for it. If that is how I sack the Vikavolt, fine. If not, then I will be able to agility and then click stabs. His resistances are to both stabs don't exist, and I can just go for them and see what I can do. One good thing is that the Lapras is baited to use like a G-Max Lightning or a Max Lightning on my Lapras, and then he gives me Electric Terrain for my Vikavolt, which is amazing because I can come in on the Lapras, survive any hit from it, go for an agility, and then Thunderbolt on it, which is awesome. And so, again, if he has like Veil, that's annoying, but like this is a decent set to counter that. He again doesn't have very many resistances to my stabs. Mudbray would be like his one thing that can kind of take 2 Bug Buzzes maybe if he's running super specially defensive and Eviolite. And lastly, we have my other sweeper. This is a Choice Scarfed Gengar. Yes, it's Choice Scarf Nasty Plot, because if I Choice Scarf myself in a Nasty Plot, I just go for the G-Max afterwards, and then I can just go for other moves anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But most often, I want this thing to be able to work after it's G-Maxed. So being able to outspeed his normal Scarfers, things like the Celebi, potentially, but I don't expect it, Darmanitan or Braviary, and be able to OHKO them with a max move and survive any hit, or be able to just outspeed them if they're chipped already, go for the attack that is super effective, and or in Darmanitan's case, just go for a Sludge Wave, and try to kill them with that. So lots of options with this. If I am incentivized to G-Max, the other thing that Nasty Plot does is that if he goes into his G-Max Lapras, and I want to stall out like one more turn of the Veil or something, I have the access to the Max Guard, just in case. So Nasty Plot helped in that way as well, but I win if I get him down to 3 Mons that I outspeed with Webs Up or something, and Nasty Plot on my Scarf, and then just go into my other attacks. Like there's so Gengar and Vikavolt are my 2 endgame killers. Mamoswine is super helpful as well to accomplish that, but my plan is get Hazards up, chip him down, and then sweep. That's the plan. Hopefully it works, and I will see you guys back here at that battle tomorrow. Take care, everybody.